3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Forest podcast, a podcast from 3 Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Welcome back to our Fett Fridays, and today we'll be talking about this season, and I will want to say season finale, not series finale.
Yes,
You're
yes.
hoping. Chapter 7, the Book of Grogu. No, just kidding. The Name of Honor.
The chapter of Boba Fett. No, wait, it's the book of Boba Fett.
But anyway, joining us for this awesome conversation is a bona fide Boba Fett fan, our friend Tori Fox from the Mandatorian Creed. Welcome back,
Yay!
Tori. It's so good to have you.
Oh, I'm so glad to be back. Thank you for having me back. Y'all are so much fun.
Another honorary
I'm ready to
Triad
go.
member here. We might start. We have to change the name, I think, from Triad to whatever comes after
Triad's
Triad
so
and whatever.
fun.
Because we have so many good friends lately that we love having back. You're one
Aw.
of them. Thank you for coming.
Of
We originally
course.
wanted to have you for the first episode to kind of kick off like Boba, the Boba Fest with the Boba Fest creator. Obviously that didn't work. So it's almost
Sorry,
even
I
better
was
to have you
busy.
at the end.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I'm excited to hear what
Better.
everyone feels. Absolutely.
Because now like we've been through the journey. So now
We've
like,
been through
there's
it
so
all.
many emotions, right? About with
Yes.
the series as a whole, especially with the Twitter discourse. Oh my God, the Twitter discourse for the Book of Boba Fett. It's been so positive. It's been so
Mhm.
positive. Like this is the first time Twitter has been absolutely no problems with anything that Star
No
Wars has done.
controversy
It's
whatsoever.
been
yeah.
amazing.
Mhm.
So there's nothing to talk about it because it's great, and now the podcast is over. No, it's been horrible. Twitter is a cesspool. Before we get going though, with what's the name of this goddamn chapter? In the name of honor.
In the Name of Honor. Yeah.
That's a good title.
It's
I'll
a good
give that
title, yeah.
A great title.
I'll give that to Favreau.
yeah.
He knows how to title episodes or chapters or whatever the hell he calls
Mhm.
it. Before we get going to the chapter proper, Tori, we haven't talked to you about Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett yet. So, what has been your experience as a bona fide Boba Fett professional, going through chapters 1 through 7 so far? What's been your perspective, chapters 1 through 6 before we get to 7?
I have a hard time believing I'm a professional at anything, but thank you for that.
Science.
No, it's been really cool. Again, I've been a Boba Fett fan since I was a wee babe. So this has kind of been it, right? This has kind of been everything I've ever hoped for. I absolutely in love with, and I'm not good. This isn't going negative. I feel like to start with saying this sounds weird, but absolutely loved like 1 through 4.
Yes.
Obsessed.
Mhm.
Loved it. 5 and 6 had me worried
Okay,
a little bit, right?
rightfully so.
I love them. I for the most part, like not like I didn't hate what happened, but
Mhm.
I want a little bit of Boba Fett focus, right? And so it was kind of
Yeah.
weird having 2 whole episodes where like you saw him for 30 seconds and that was like it.
Right.
So I was concerned going in the finale, but I loved it. So I did love it. I think there are certain things that, and I know you said we're not going to get too into it because I know you maybe want to do a whole episode on the overall reach of the series.
Yeah.
But I think that if we spend a little more time with these characters, that the finale might have like hit a little harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I
It
still
makes
loved
sense.
it. I still loved it. I think it stuck the landing for me. So
Mhm.
Good. Nani, how have you felt now with because now we can look back, right, and see like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the setup of 1 through 6 that led to 7. Did it pay? Like, do you feel like the setup worked for 7?
Oh,
So
totally.
mhm.
You-
I liked the way they I agree with you completely, Tori. Like those first 4 episodes I really loved. And I hate that they criticized those flashbacks so much because they were actually some of my
They
favorite
were the
parts.
best part. Yeah.
The problem
Oh,
is
yeah.
that once you catch up to the present, you have 2 episodes about the Mandalorian. It's like
Mhm.
you don't get that payoff really in the present. So I was
Mm.
really worried about the finale and how it was gonna hit and how they were gonna do it. So I'm still sad that I had 2 episodes that weren't about Boba Fett, but I really liked the finale actually. I
Mhm.
love that you had set up all these characters like as more important in those last 2 episodes, like Mando and Grogu, Luke, Ahsoka, like all these people. And
Which, how irresponsible from Luke. We'll get to it, but I was a little upset with Luke in today's episode.
But it actually, you could tell the entire episode that they were following Boba's lead. Like Boba was definitely the one in charge in this last episode, which I really appreciated.
Yep.
I don't understand why Favreau has to apply the Marvel formula to everything, and then every final episode has to be a team up. But at least this time we already knew the characters that were gonna be in. Like we didn't get any surprise, crazy, like Luke showing up or Bo-Katan or something that would have driven me insane. So they actually controlled themselves a little bit there. So it wasn't as bad as a team up as I was expecting, but it was still a team up. But there were a lot of things about it that I really enjoyed. So once we go into detail, we can chat about that. But all in all, I thought it was a really good season finale. Hopefully season finale, not series finale. So
yeah,
Agree.
I definitely
Agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a season finale because I mean, this. I want to talk about the first 6 episodes before going into the chapter 7 proper. But for me, like, I don't feel like chapter 7 kind of wrapped anything up. I kind of feel like by the end of it, we're like in the exact same place where we started. So all 4 episodes.
5
Yeah,
episodes.
because
Technically.
we have
There's 5
because we
episodes
have-
of Boba.
Yeah, I see. Like you
Yeah.
said, like, I don't know, especially with Danny Trejo. You know, it's like what
Like 5 and a
sets
half,
me.
you know?
Yeah,
Because I
It's
think
like
the
there's
Cobb
2
Van thing made like a ton of sense.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cobb
the
that
Cobb
half,
Van,
is
you know
one
what
of
I
those
mean?
people.
Cobb,
That's
Cobb
yeah,
has had made to so it's like half.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll give you the half. We'll give you the half.
Yeah.
for sure.
That made way more sense than Luke and Ahsoka.
Cobb Van.
Yeah.
God bless Cobb Van. Spoiler alert. Like Ahsoka lives, Cobb Van lives. We got him. Timothy Oliphant lives to write another day. I was like,
Oh, thank goodness. Because
Yeah, I was
I
like-
was
this-
sweating there.
yeah, I was like, well, if he goes down from a shoulder shot, Disney,
So I was like, it
what
was
are
like
you doing?
so pointedly in the shoulder too. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I
Like when you
was-
pause it, you're like, that's the shoulder. And
Yeah.
so when he was like, oh, they killed him in cold blood, I was like, or no, they shot
Oh,
at him
wait.
in cold blood. I was like,
Yeah.
is he okay?
Yeah, I was like, hey, WK, that that we only knew his name like in the one passing scene that someone said his name, and then we never referenced it. You can express yourself more like correctly instead of worrying everybody about Cobb Van's health. You could say like,
Yeah.
the marshal's down, but he's
No,
okay. We just put a stim pack in his shoulder and he's fine.
Nope.
But no, he's just like, let me just imply he's dead so that
We had to
Mando gets
suffer.
angry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that we
It's
can
like-
all suffer. Because I was just like, wait, but I was like 100% sure he survived that. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
me
no,
too,
he's-
honestly.
maybe he did it on purpose. Maybe he's like, well, we gotta get like the revenge fires within Mando raging, so
Yeah.
that my boyfriend's dead. Gotta avenge my boyfriend,
Yep.
and it worked to a degree.
Yeah.
Even though Mando keeps being as dumb as ever, like striking the dark saber against the giant droideka. Just
Like
dude, if
10
it didn't work the
times.
first time. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not how dark sabers work.
Listen, Din is cute. He's got a good heart. He's doing his
Yeah,
best,
I
you
know.
know?
He's doing. Yeah, he's on the struggle bus.
He
He's
is
definitely a
trying.
He's definitely a single dad. It's just he just doesn't know what he's doing, like making braids on Grogu's head. He doesn't know how to make braids. Also trying to make breakfast, and it's like Mando's just lost. He doesn't know. Yeah. So like I felt that there was so much setup in 1 through 6 for Boba's journey, and like Bonnick, obviously, because I think everyone is a proponent of that ship
Yes, we
up in
are.
here, at least.
Yeah, I'm here for
and
that.
then kind of nothing. I mean, a lot of, at least for me, like I really enjoyed the episode. I think the episode was a lot of fun. We got to see a lot of things we wanted to see. I love the giant droidekas, but ultimately, in terms of like a narrative arc for everyone involved, especially Boba and Fennec, I just felt that they didn't go anywhere. They were going places in the flashbacks, but in the present, it was kind of like, okay, we won the battle. That's it. So let's get going with chapter 7 proper instead of alluding to it by referencing the previous chapters.
Yeah.
So, Tori, let's start with you. Chapter 7. What's your review? What's your reaction? How much did you love it?
Loved it. Like we kind of said, I agree with your setup talk. And I think there's something to be said. Like, I do think there is growth happening here. I think the whole Cad Bane Boba fight and him, it kind of like that discussion of like, oh, you've like changed. And he's like, yeah, like I have changed. Like I'm changing. Like I'm going soft in my old age or whatever, which I love that conversation. That was super cute.
Yeah, it was great.
But but like I was super happy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a clown. I thought for sure Kira was gonna show up. I thought I was hopeful for a kiss. At this point though, I was like, I don't know about that. I definitely think in like later episodes, like the dynamic between the two of them, you're like, is this like how two bounty hunters that don't know how to talk to each other, like, is this what flirting is? Like I can't but so I was kind of hopeful about maybe Kira or someone showing up at the end. I think the Cobb Vanth tidbit at the end, of course, very happy he's alive. I was devastated for a week because I was like, if he's not alive, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I just got him back.
Hashtag fire Kathleen Kennedy. She's ruining Star Wars by killing Cobb Vanth.
Come on now, you can't do that to that beautiful man. But I think that's an interesting tidbit at the end. And yeah, maybe it's just thrown there for funsies, but I can't help but feel like what you're saying. I think that there has been some resolution. There's been some growth here, but yeah, I still feel like there's still a bigger story to be told here or something. Like they've introduced so many new people, and there's no way that he's not going to have more conflict in becoming ruler. Like I don't think it's that easy, right? I mean, I loved seeing him walk around at the end, comfortable, interacting with people. Like that's super cool. You can tell he's definitely formed a relationship with Mos Espa and these people, but it doesn't feel like it's over. I feel like there's more. But I obviously love the Rancor bit. I enjoyed the King Kong of it all. Gorgeous.
Oh yeah, it was
right
so.
I'm upset I don't know its name.
Done. Yeah, I kind of want to know its name. Yeah, I agree.
Please. But other than that, yeah. But I loved
Nani,
it. I love seeing him and Din interact.
Yeah.
Best friends.
Yeah. Well, thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna make a note of that to kind of get back to it. But Nani, what did you think of chapter 7?
It honestly exceeded my expectations because again, I was expecting it to be like kind of convoluted and have all these extra people come in and kind of be insane. I think that if it would have been a series finale, it wouldn't have completed the show, obviously. But since I think we're framing it as a season finale, I think it set out to accomplish what it had to. Because even though I am a huge fan of Boba and Fennec getting together, at the moment that they are in their relationship, I think it's too soon, and it would have been believable. You have to kind of wait for that to happen. Obviously, the Rancor, it was so gorgeous. Every episode gets more and more gorgeous. There was so much happening in this episode. I loved not only the conversations between Mando and Boba Fett, but just that whole scene with them fighting next to each other, back to back, on the jetpacks, on the ground, just everything. It was so like complimentary about it. And that conversation it was very hot. And then that conversation they have before about, are you sure you're gonna do this? I just leave, it's fine. It's like, no, this is the creed. It's like, do you really believe this crap? It's like, yes, I do. It's like, well,
you
good, then I know you have my back. So it's like two different versions of Mandalorians trying to find how to interact with each other when they've been brought up differently and have different beliefs, but they're both technically Mandalorians, even if one's a foundling and the other one's a clone, but they're still Mandalorians. So there was a lot of it that I liked. And what you mentioned also, that whole scene with Cad Bane, like we know it was coming since Cad Bane was introduced. We know that Filoni has always wanted to show their showdown since that episode that wasn't aired in the Clone Wars animated series. But it was so much more than I was hoping for, because I was kind of expecting it to be kind of bombastic and crazy, but it really spoke to those characters. If you haven't watched the Clone Wars, you wouldn't really understand the depth of it, obviously, but it doesn't stop you from understanding that something important just happened. But especially knowing what those characters mean to each other, I thought it was very, very cathartic moment for Boba, especially when Cad Bane starts to tell him that he's weak and in his old age, like you said, and then he's still better than him. Like Cad Bane
Mhm.
is faster. He's on the ground, defeated, and then Cad Bane says, "This is my last lesson to you. Only look out for yourself. Everything else is weakness." And in that moment, he pulls out the gaffy stick and
Mhm.
defeats him by using a weapon and skills that he learned when he decided to be part of a tribe
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
leave
The
that whole
community,
lone
yes.
wolf thing behind. And he defeated him because in what he taught him, yeah, he was still better.
Mhm. Mhm.
But Boba grew beyond that by becoming a member of a tribe and learning things that there's no way he could have learned by himself.
Oh,
And
beautifully said.
so it's there is a lot of growth, and he was
Mhm.
really baiting him not only with the death of the Tuscans but with his
Mhm.
father. You know, that he kept having those dreams of his father leaving him all the time, and then he says, "You might think you're different now, but people don't change that much. You have your father's blood in your veins and you're a killer."
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't buy this whole thing. What's your angle? Like trying to make him seem like he was just being, a mob boss because he wanted control, because he just can't understand the fact that he actually had a people that he wanted to protect. And it was beyond Cad Bane to understand that. And that's why he got destroyed, which, I mean, it was super cathartic, but I'm still sad because I love Cad Bane. So I'm sad we're
Oh,
not
Yeah,
just
I was
living
about
it.
I
It
was
was,
about to
like,
say,
over
like, I was
before it
like,
really
I will not
began, you
accept
know?
this
Oh.
Cat
Yeah.
Bane slander. So-
Yeah, so I was like super sad because to me, Cad Bane is the best bounty hunter. I loved him so much in the Clone Wars animated series. He was so good. And the portrayal, I still, we talked about this last time, that the brim of his hat should be wider. Yeah, it's a nitpick,
Yeah.
whatever.
Absolutely. That's the
Nitpick,
biggest gripe I
but
have
yeah.
is just bigger hat.
Yeah, but honestly, especially in this one, when you see him like walking, the movements, everything, they
Oh yeah,
really,
he looks so much
really
better
brought
in
this.
this episode than
Yeah,
last one
yeah, then the
somehow, even
last
though
one.
it's the same.
Yep.
Which is
but somehow,
it's like a kudos to the makeup department,
Mhm.
because holy crap, like the prosthetics for everything, and I imagine like there must have been some, I don't know if it was CGI enhanced or if they had some like mechanism inside, like the nose.
to actually
It's not a
have
nose,
facial
but that piece
features,
that
yeah,
had
movement,
the
yeah.
whole
Mhm,
expressiveness.
yeah.
I was like, good job, guys. Like I don't know, I know this show won't be nominated for Oscars, but good job. You deserve a golden statue of some kind, because on Cad Bane alone, because he looked fabulous. It's Cad
Mhm.
Babe, okay? It's not Cad Bane anymore. But it's interesting now that you were talking about Cad Bane that way, because even though I see it and I think that was the intent of how the scene was supposed to be read, for me it was very confusing, because I was like, but it's like, especially with how it was framed, him defeating Cad Bane with the gaffy stick kind of makes sense in that developmental uh, study, right? When we look at it from the Clone Wars perspective,
Mhm.
it makes sense. But when we look at it like in the structure of the show, I'm like, this doesn't make sense, especially with the scene at the beginning when Cad Bane's talking to the Pike, the Pike proxy leader, or whoever
Mhm.
the hell that guy is. And he's saying, and like the Pikes are telling him, yeah, that we killed the Tuscans,
Yeah.
and it wasn't the Nictos, which I was like, wait, I thought it would have been better if Cad Bane had killed the Tuscans by order of the Nictos, so
Yeah.
that then actually like Boba fighting him with the gaffy stick actually makes sense. Because I thought that Cad Bane asking the Pikes that, and then him having that information would play into them having an alliance or something somehow. Because it's just like, okay, why would Boba be angry at Cad Bane for Cad Bane just telling him something that he didn't do, but the other people did? And so it's just kind of like, why don't you want to like go personally and kill the Pikes instead of sending Fennec? I don't know. For me, it's just like, I feel like everything was wrapped up, but in a way that didn't make sense with everything that was set up previously. So for me, like I didn't feel that catharsis with Cad Bane as much, even though I understood what they were going for. But it was kind of, and it's complicated for me because Cad Bane is my favorite bounty hunter. It's like I'm Team Cad Bane for life. He's gonna come back. We saw a body, but that doesn't mean anything. Jon Snow
I
was
was gonna
dead.
say,
He came back.
Boba Fett's very liberal with the use of that back to tank. Like,
Yeah.
maybe Cad Bane is, in line after Cobb. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope so. Maybe maybe the mods like do like some modification on like his brain stuff, and take away that anger and maybe give him some soothing thoughts. So he's just a good guy. Even though I kind of like Cat Bane as a ruthless killer, but that's besides the point. So I feel like that's just like the other thing I was gonna say. So that whole fight is framed right, like the Darth Maul and Obi-Wan fight in Rebels.
I was
where,
gonna
like,
say, yeah,
Mhm.
this was very Twin Sons to me, very much the old rivals over years and
Mhm.
years and years and years, and finally coming to that like moment, you know.
mhm. Which I think, which is the value of the flashbacks, is it gives you that extra information that you might not have, and it's why I think, as fan servicey as it might have been, I think the episode not wasted them, but we like invested them in developing other characters. We kind of lost time to flesh out Boba's arc, I feel, and that's why it's kind of like chapter 7 for me in terms of like closing his story in the
Mhm.
season feels empty, because okay, I feel we should have had like a small flashback to see like the past between Boba and Cat Bane, so that, because for us fans that we're watching everything, it's like, oh yeah, well, we know because this and this, and then the arc that we didn't see and we only saw the animatics, and that's why he has the thing. It makes sense. But if you're a normie and you're watching the show, it's just like, what,
You're like, who's this man?
who's this
Yeah.
blue guy, and like what are they
Mhm.
bitching about? It's just like,
It's an interesting point, just from a standpoint of, I remember thinking it was an interesting choice for them to show, like when Cad Bane says, "Hey, the Tuscans were killed by the Pikes,"
Mhm.
to show the flashback of that,
mhm.
but not really show a flashback at all for anything between him and Cad Bane. That's an interesting. This is just now
Yeah.
going through my head. Yeah, like maybe it might have been, because you're right. I mean, I think for us watching it, we love Star Wars possibly too much. I don't know. So we're watching all of the extra stuff, and someone who doesn't really understand that it's not going to hit as well, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean,
And-
there's a lot of other things going on that are incredible, so maybe it doesn't need to
Mhm.
hit as well, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think those were. I mean, and I think it's a systemic thing of having. I was going to say Filoni, of having Favreau write everything. It's like he's writing as if he were writing Marvel movies right now. Like with Marvel, you can get away with doing that crap because Marvel has been like in theaters for 10 years, and everyone has seen over 10 years, and everyone has seen every single goddamn movie, so everyone knows everything. And they've reached a point where it's just like the point of no return, where it's like, get in, loser. You're either in the Marvel train or you're not. But I think
Yeah,
Star Wars
it's a lot.
way different in that sense, because there's so much content of it that is not mainstream, that it's very hard for like a normie coming in to be on the train, because most people don't read the books, and most people don't read the comics, and most people don't watch the animated shows. So for them to just be expected to have the same knowledge that everyone, like all the fans that watch everything have, I think it's unfair, because it's not an apples to apples comparison to the MCU. So I think that's why Favreau needs to have a writing team. I think he needs to stop writing from inside his head. I think he's getting George Lucas syndrome in the prequels, where like everyone just let him do whatever he wanted by himself. I think he needs to be brought back and have like a writers, round table where he can guide the story and like bring all the ideas, but other people are just like, okay, we need to flesh out these other things that the story is missing. Because based on the flashbacks that we saw throughout the season, I think we were missing 3 things to kind of, at least for me personally, hit home the finale. And it's like a flashback with Django, because we kept talking about Camino, but we didn't. I would have liked to see like the payoff of that. It's like, oh, a little 1-to-1 Django and little baby Boba, where like we see what Django instilled in Boba, so that we can see that mindset that then Cat Bane brings into question when they're having the showdown. Then like a flashback with Cat Bane, that we can have that dynamic. And then the training montage with Danny Trejo and the Rancor. We were robbed, goddammit. I needed to see Danny Trejo train Boba.
We didn't see Danny Trejo again.
Yeah.
That seems like a crime.
It's weird.
Yeah, it does.
In season 1 of Mando, we saw Din train with the oh my god, I forgot the name of the creature.
The blurg.
Yeah, thank you. With the blurg, and it was an awesome scene. It was very emotional and like mythical, and then we don't get to see like
Yeah,
an
I
even
was kind of bummed about
bigger
that.
scene
Yeah.
with that, because it's set up right. Oh, I want to learn to write it, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
he knows how to write it, and he pulled the Game of Thrones there, right, where he just like shows up in 5 minutes, fast travel, which actually is one thing that I did really enjoy about the episode. It was very Battlefront 2. I was like, oh yeah, this is like ultimate Star Wars video game, and I love it.
It's a
It's
really
like all the
good
different
point.
classes. I was like, yes, this is great. And
Absolutely.
great game. Video games are awesome, and Star Wars, influenced a bunch of video games. I'm always in for video game references, but it was fun. I mean, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. I was just,
No. And I think, your Marvel team up comment, like, I agree. And I think that was why I had such an issue with 5 and 6, because it felt like you said, Marvel movies, we've had 10 years of this, right?
Mhm.
It feels like with the Mando verse, if you will,
Yeah.
like it's not been, we're not that far in, right? And it feels like they want to have that big, like, Avengers Assemble moment,
Yeah.
right.
but without the time it takes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why it felt weird.
And really establish those characters. And then you're using a show that up to this point we still don't know for sure if we're getting another season.
Mhm.
And you're, basically promoting the Mandalorian, which we know a third season's coming, and you're promoting the
Mhm.
Ahsoka show, which we know it's coming. So just dedicate the time to this character that we haven't seen in years, and when he was in films was
Mhm.
barely there, and still
Right.
amassed a huge fandom because he's kind of an awesome character. And then you set him up to be such a different person from who we were expecting in the Mandalorian, and then we were so excited to like actually flesh this character out, and then we lose 2 episodes or 1.5, like you were saying, because Cobb Vanth and Cat Bane showing up does make sense. But that
We round up,
entire
We run
But
that
there-
fair.
but episode 5 was the Mandalorian episode completely. I mean,
Beautiful. Yeah.
it was gorgeous.
And
but you
it was
could've
it
done-
was incredible, yeah.
It was incredible. It was amazing. But you could have left a lot of that storytelling to
Mhm.
like the first episode of Mandalorian season 3. Like you have him show up and it's like, oh, it's a long story. I'll let you know what happened later. And then you find
Yeah.
out the in between in Mandalorian episode season 3. And then you still have time to develop the relationship of Boba with everybody else.
Mhm.
Because it does make sense for Boba and Mando to have a relationship, obviously. I mean,
Mhm.
Boba Fett showed up in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and we talked about it last episode, and but with this episode, I kind of like feel it even more. It kind of, to me, doesn't feel that this was a natural show that was going to happen. It kind of feels that they want all these, or they're structuring all these Filoniverse or Mandoverse, whatever you want to call it, shows, kind of like the Clone Wars, where everything's kind of arcs and everything's separate, and then kind of comes together at the end with like the Siege of Mandalore. Kind of same thing with all these shows. But then, Lucasfilm or Disney corporate, it's like, no, separate those things. Give me separate shows so that we can mark them separately. And they're like, oh shit, well, now like, how do I make a whole show out of Boba Fett when Boba Fett was supposed to just be an arc in this show? And it kind of feels like that. It feels like Clone Wars arcs that are kind of made separate series, and maybe that's why it's not coalescing for me. Or maybe I'm just like a nitpicky bitch. I don't know. But
No.
no.
I don't know. Because one thing that like it started on the left foot. This episode is like, one, Garza Whip dead. You don't kill a majestic woman like that.
That
and then
I was
you
like-
just make
really
no comment
upsetting.
about it, basically.
Yeah.
It's just
That
like, oh,
is
it's
really
it blew up.
upsetting. Yeah.
Not even like a little rock to like commemorate. Here lies the best cantina owner in the galaxy. But okay,
Yeah.
Favreau, I see what you did. And then the framing of the episode starts the exact same way that the final episode of season 1 of Mando does, where they're like in a burnt out space,
Yeah.
about to like face the bad guys. And I was like, Favreau, are you running out of ideas? Because like you're this is season 1 of Mandalorian, but in Boba Fett and Tatooine. So that's your twist, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Now
know.
you're just venting. Tori, we liked it. So let's talk positive things about this.
Yes, please.
You want me to?
Yeah, go.
Oh, okay. Positive. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I really enjoyed like I said, the dynamic between Din and Boba. Not that I didn't think that they wouldn't be friends, because I mean I loved where he was like, oh, it's on the house. I'm like, oh my gosh, friendship. Like how sweet, While you're talking about like the fight scenes were so good.
So good.
I loved all of the choreography. I'm not even someone I think that I normally like really pay attention to that stuff, but just the way it was shot. I mean, it's Robert Rodriguez, right?
Oh yeah.
Like the way it was shot, like calls attention to like the cool moves they're making, and like I loved like Boba's little like knee lift.
Yes,
to shoot the rockets. Like that's.
I thought he was gonna
fun.
stretch his back a little bit, and then it's
I loved it. It was so good. I even like, I know people apparently now it's a controversy that like the spin and the shoot from the SCAD character. I loved that.
I loved it too.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Like he looks dope.
People are like, oh, it's not. I feel like the biggest argument people make with that kind of stuff is like, oh, it's not realistic. And I was like, I've got news for you. If I look like him and I'm in Star Wars and I'm in a big battle, like I'm spinning every time. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, that's so fun.
Yes.
So I love that.
Very
and I do
true.
think, I think that there was a lot to have accomplished in this episode, right? And I know, developmentally we have kind of like our qualms, but I do think it really did a good job, all things considered. And I really felt like, we had a lot of really cool moments with, Scat and Drash and them kind of taking charge, and her being like, this is like my turf, like I know what's up, like we have to do this is what we have to do. And even like the people of Freetown, like we even got some like Freetown some serious Freetown, moments, and that's super neat too. And the one, I don't think we still have a name for her, but the one girl that talked with Drash a lot, I always focused in on her because she would always be in the background, and she was always kind of talking to Cobb, like even in the Marshall episode that I rewatched that recently, like she shows up a lot. And so it was really cool to have her like have some dialogue and like talk with Drash, and that was great. And I like that we got, I think Weequay's name is Tonti, right?
There we go. I knew someone will remember the name.
That's his
I was
name.
like, it came in
and so
passing.
I'm glad we finally got a name, but he's great. Glad that he kind of had his moment too to kind of lead the charge. So I love that so much.
Yeah, I've been confused because I've seen a bunch of people on Twitter that will remain unnamed being like, oh, Robert Rodriguez should not direct another episode of the of Star Wars. And I'm like, why? Because why? It's like, why are we blaming Robert Rodriguez for decisions that are maybe not his in terms of like the story? He's not writing the episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of the issues that people have are more of like a pacing writing thing, not so much actual directing, like you're saying. So
yeah, I thought it was quintessential Robert Rodriguez, and I loved it. I mean, like you were saying, Tori, the fights, it almost seems like a dance, which made it so much better because it's like action packed but gorgeous to look at the same time. And you have to still give them credit for, oh my god, those special effects. Like sometimes in the actual fights you could see Mos Espa like reflected in Mando's helmet, like with the movements, like you could see it off reflected. It's just, it's so immersive, it's insane, like you feel like you're there, and it's so good. And I really liked, and that's again what you were saying, you introduced a lot of really cool characters that weren't able to get fleshed out because you didn't have, enough actual Book of Boba content. But one thing that I really noticed that was kind of insane was that you gave Black Chrysanthemum a name. When they first said Santo, I was like, who are they talking about?
Yeah, like they have a nickname for him.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, because Black Chrysanthemum was probably his title from when he was a gladiator, and now he has like an actual name, which is cool. Which is also why I think that they should have given the Rancor a name as well. But how badass, I mean, we knew it was coming, the whole that he was writing it. And I know that you have issues with that. We didn't get the training montage, but how
he didn't
amazing
earn it,
did it
but
look?
it's still awesome.
It doesn't matter. You see, in the angle that I was shot from, because you only see the Rancor at first, and then the leaning over and like Boba's on top there, just like majestic.
And I loved it when it, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was gonna say like I might have chosen one of those images for like the cover art for the episode. It's just
good, because that's the best thing ever. Like I'm waiting because I've never, confession time, and then I'm gonna say what I actually has to pertain with what we're talking about, but
Mm.
I have never bought like a super nice like statue before, like a sideshow or like whatever, you know.
Oh, they're
And I'm
so
like,
awesome.
this is gonna be it. Like Boba's gonna be it. Like I'm gonna have to get one, right? And I'm like, there's got to be one where he's on the Rancor, and like that's gonna be the
Oh.
one. You know what I mean?
It's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be like
Oh,
a
yeah.
super deluxe one. It's gonna be massive.
But I love, oh yes, but I loved how the Rancor picked up the droid thing, and he
Mhm.
kind of like paused, and Bob was like, "Do it!" Like he was
Do
kind of
it.
like,
Yeah,
"Dad,
yes.
Dad, can I break this?" And he's like, "Do it." He breaks it.
Oh, it's
I
It's
know.
so cute.
Which is also a testament to Robert's directing style, I think, because like the way like the shots are, you know, cut together, it just makes everything feel so dynamic, and you get like different angles of everything that's happening, and then you get like those
Mhm.
money shots and like the big action explosion set to kind of emphasize the epicness of the scene. I was just like, oh man, why wouldn't you want to have this person direct more Star Wars? They know what they're doing. Just give him all the Tatooine episodes because he's, you know, a Western guy. Especially with that scene when he takes down Cad Bane. I thought that, you know, the framing of it was so cool. Because every single frame I think from this episode was, you know, was screenshotable. I think it was all like
It was gorgeous.
shot in a way that everything looked good. And I don't know if this was something they did like in post after the backlash with episode 3, but the mod bikes looked a little faster to me this time. All the
I
chase
still think
sequences,
they're
I
a
was like,
little
okay,
clunky though. They're still, I mean,
They're a little
I kind
clunky,
of
they're a
love that
little
they're
clunky.
super bright because it kind of
yeah.
and it's all the kind of the Power Ranger colors and everything. So I actually really love that, and it contrasts really well with the desert scenery. But I think they were kind of slow, and the movement of them looks kind of weird, especially when you see Fennec Shan getting on her speeder
Oh,
bike
hers
and
was really
and
fast. Yeah.
boom,
Super cool. I was
and
like, "Oh, she got there."
I know
I was like,
it's so good
girl,
to
it's like,
see it.
come on.
Yeah. But and to your point about that, there obviously is a lot of Star Wars out there that a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to, but there's a lot of boba that we get from Clone Wars. So if you don't know, go and watch Clone Wars. It's not our fault that you don't necessarily understand what's happening.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's not our fault. You're not a fucking nerd. Go and watch
Because there's a
everything. Yeah.
bunch of like Boba, Fennec had a showdown with Cad Bane as
Bane.
well, and there's a lot of history there. And
Mhm.
then one of the things that I really liked was those giant droids, which were like 100% versions of like the destroyer droids
Mhm.
from the Clone Wars, which it made it feel very like Filoni centric, which I'm totally okay with. And they
Which,
looked
fun fact,
incredibly
not to
badass.
cut you up, but before I forgot,
Uh-huh.
I just found out that those a recycled design from Doug Chiang from Attack of
It
the
is.
Clones.
It is.
So it's like, oh, prequel
Mira pa
babies, here
allá.
we go.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
And I mean, I remember when they first started showing up that you just like see it in the infrared from Mando. It's like, we're in deep shit, basically. And then you see the second
Mhm.
one, and then they turn on the shields, and it's like, crap. And it was
Yeah.
so
It
good.
was such a droidica moment too. You were like, I've seen this before.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, they're
Yeah, I
gonna
was
die.
like,
They're all gonna die.
they had trouble with the little ones, and these are
Yeah.
a
I
little
was,
bit.
These are-
different.
I was like, the little ones seem like impossible to, put down.
Mhm.
This is a whole other, whole other scenario. I want to say one thing, piggybacking off of what you said.
Yeah.
One of the only disappointments for me in this episode, like big disappointments, was I was kind of bummed that Cad Bane did not say anything to Fennec.
Yeah,
Having
so was
their
I.
history, right? Because
Yeah.
I thought it was real. I was like, wow, this is a really neat potential moment here of like Fennec and Boba both having beef with this guy, and then he doesn't even acknowledge her. I was like,
Especially for that first time where they're doing the confrontation. And I was like, if Fennec is remaining hiding, it makes sense. But then she
Mhm.
actually came out. So
yeah,
I thought Cad Bane was like gonna taunt her too or say something
yeah, like why
about it.
wouldn't
Like,
he? Yeah.
yeah. So that was also like, yeah, they missed it right there. But whatever. But yeah, that
mean,
was
Sorry, not to be negative again, but that's like one of my
I-
only things that I was like, man, I was kind of excited
missed
about that.
opportunity. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's not keep going to like that train, but I will add to it that I think that our girl Meg Na Wen was disserviced by the show. I thought that she was gonna be like, you know, co-equal with
I do wish she was in this a little bit
Boba,
more this
but I kind
episode.
of I feel like, you know, they dropped her off a little bit, even though at least she did get like her big Godfather assassination montage.
Oh yeah, she was a total
That
badass.
was
scene,
That
so-
was
super cool.
and it was so well shot. I
Mhm.
mean,
It
the
was.
angles of everything, like you were saying before, the way everything is shot, like all the shots from the inside and everybody dying, and then the mayor just getting hung, and then the final Pike just getting stabbed in the back. Like,
Mhm.
job is done. I'm done. Okay, bye bye. I'm leaving.
Job is done.
Bye.
Which for me, actually, I'll talk about that when we talk about what we think season 2 will be like. But we can't speak about the mayor without talking about the mayor domo. And I think he was. I mean, I've never been too much of a fan about him in previous chapters, but I think he really gets to shine in this episode, particularly when he's with Pelly. I don't know about you guys, but I felt
Yeah.
Yeah,
some
there
love
were
in
some
the
vibes
air.
I
there.
want a
Oh, yeah.
show about just them. Like together, they are absolutely hilarious.
I mean, I saw like there was like a little tender touch. They look like
Yeah.
a fine couple. I don't know if you guys got the vibes, but I was like, this is a ship.
No, I definitely
There has
got
to be
the
an
vibes.
AO3 story about it right now, or
Oh, I'm
someone's
sure
writing
it's
it.
coming. Yeah, I'm sure it's
Hey,
coming.
you can do an entire series about her and her sexual escapades, apparently, because
Oh yeah. She knows
she dates.
she knows what.
She
She
likes
did
to
a
date.
But the most important thing, she takes time for self-care,
Claro,
which is
claro,
the most
yeah.
important part. You can't love others if you don't love yourself, and she took the time for herself. So good job for Pelly. She's a character that I thought I would get like tired of when I saw her like in Mando season 1, but I think every appearance that she's had so far is just better than the previous one.
So true.
Kudos
Yeah.
to Amy Sedaris. Wonderful character. I
Yeah.
loved it. I mean, every scene that she's in, she steals the spotlight, I think.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
here's to more of it. She seems like she might be like the Nick Fury, maybe, of like all these Mandoverse shows. Well, she's just gonna pop up in Ahsoka. She's gonna pop up in Obi-Wan, maybe as a young Pelimoto helping Obi-Wan. I'm for it if she's like the Nick Fury of all this stuff, because she's been fantastic. But speaking of Obi-Wan, I did not like what Lucasfilm just did today. I mean, Wednesday, if you guys are listening on Friday, stealing Book of Boba's thunder by announcing when the show's gonna
Obi-Wan
premiere and
show.
dropping that poster.
Yeah.
That was a
it's
dirty
pretty
move.
wild. Here's the thing: is like I've had this discussion with friends. Like it feels like, and I understand to a certain degree, right? Like you have some shows that are going to be maybe more well received or people are more excited about than others, but it's weird to me that it almost feels like they don't want to market anything at the same time.
Mhm.
But they have so many things coming out at this point. It's like at some point you're going to have to like market more than one thing at a time, right? Like
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
so
I
it's
don't
just
know. It was
interesting.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but it literally is like, oh, okay, so we're done with this now, so now we can start on like the next thing, which is cool, and I mean
Yeah.
makes sense, but it's weird to me that like you kind of get the first taste of things like once the previous thing is over with. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of down to the wire, you know?
You could.
Yeah.
I feel like they could have announced it last week or something, so like people are talking about them,
Well,
but
and
still
you already
leave
know it's
the
coming out
finale
in
for
May.
Boba.
Yeah.
You know?
It's you already know if it's coming out in May, they've known for a while that it's coming out in May. So just why, I don't know. It's weird, the advertising campaigns they're doing for this stuff. I don't really understand it, but
Yeah, I
whatever.
don't understand their marketing department at all, but you know, they must know what they're doing, but I don't understand. It's like we're getting a trailer for the Lord of the Rings show, which is in September for my birthday. We're getting that like months in advance, and then
Cool.
posters and everything. But then like all these Lucasfilm projects are so minimal, the advertising that they do for it, that I really question if they think that by not advertising it, they create more buzz because people are like, what the hell's happening? And then when it comes out, like bigger buzz. But I think that might have worked for the movies way back, 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago when Force Awakens came out. But now, not so much. I think now they need to kind of get people on board because you're
Well, and I feel
normalizing
like there
Star
was
Wars.
a decent amount of promotion before the first season of Mandalorian came out. They were like pushing that, and then I think once they realized that it did well, it's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, and I
So-
think also a big draw with that too is like that was the start of the streaming service, right?
Mhm.
So they went super hard because that was like their big thing coming
Yeah.
out the day the streaming service drops. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a combo of possibly just not wanting to overshadow other things, which again, like once you really get into having both Marvel and Star Wars shows going on at the same time, like you're gonna have to talk about more than one thing at once. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I wonder also if it has to do with, because I feel like this is a complaint seen through multiple kind of facets of everything, right? Like I feel like people complain because there's not a lot of toys out immediately, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if it has to do with like the leaker culture at this point. You know what I mean?
Eh,
Like it
I don't
feels
know,
like they keep
because
a lot of
all the
things
Marvel
secret and
stuff,
close to their
all the
chest, and they
Marvel stuff
don't
have
put things
their
into
toys.
production. Well, I'm saying like just from a Star Wars standpoint, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like it just
It's
feels
weird.
like maybe that's why things aren't being produced in as quickly of a time toy wise, and maybe other things like that's, I mean, this is just my like random person that knows relatively nothing theory, but if I was them, I would want stuff getting out, and stuff gets out by, you know, starting production on things early, right?
Yeah,
Right,
like
and
toys.
especially like Boba Fett and Fennec stuff. I mean, because they had Boba in season 2, and they didn't release any Boba Black series or anything until now, which I finally got. First Boba Black series that I've gotten is Boba Tython from season 2.
Oh,
Let's
it's a
see if
good one.
Walmart actually delivers it. But yeah, but that came out now after season 2 has been out for how long? So it's kind of, why aren't you
I just got my helmet,
promoting this?
you know, the Black
Looks
Series
awesome.
helmet.
Yeah.
I mean, I pre-ordered it a year ago.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Like who knows what they're doing, like between like the video games and the action figures. That's a mess. Like we get no video games, and the action figures take forever, not only like to announce them, but then to ship them. It's just a disaster. Anyway, going back to Book of Boba Fett. So the show ends. Before
well,
that.
before we
What?
do that, come on, the Book of Grogu.
That's
was
what I
the
was gonna- that's
ultimate
what I was gonna
hero
do.
of this episode.
Which I
And
I
the
wanted
cute
to start. I wanted to
He's
start
so
scolding
cute.
Luke Skywalker. Why would
Actually,
he send
I
him by
don't.
himself?
I don't want to
Oh.
scold Luke. Like say, I don't. One, I would trust R2D2 over Luke any day of the week. Just
Fair
say,
assessment. Fair assessment.
especially
at this
at
point,
this-
yeah.
yeah, where he is. Yeah. So
I just
I'm
felt that he
sorry.
was bitter. He's like, you chose Mando over me. Bye.
No, I
And I
don't
was
think
like, hey,
so.
not
I think
cool.
it, and it's also important in storytelling, because if Luke showed up, he would have known that something's going on, and then he would have joined the fight, and then we have another version of a Skywalker doing everything.
Correct.
Again,
Absolutely.
which,
I did not want Luke to be there, but I still
So,
felt a
when
little
I saw
weird that there was no adult
the
supervision.
when I saw the X-wing, I was like, no, please just tell me
I-
he's just giving the
my-
kid back.
My
Don't
heart
do
sank
this
as well. I was like,
again.
no, please.
And I'm sure
And
they
then
did it
when
on
you see-
purpose. They were like,
of
let's do it.
course, yeah,
Let's
they're
mess with
doing it.
people.
And then obviously, it's not just an X-wing, because of the shot from behind you see that it's R2. But then once Pelimoto starts coming up, you don't see anybody. I was like, oh God, it's just
Thank God,
R2.
It's just the baby.
Yes,
Maybe it was
that's
Luke.
fine.
He was like taking that nap down there.
I know, and he looked so happy, and Pelimoto was so happy too. And then when she finds out, I loved it. Grogu. Oh yeah, I'm not calling you that.
I'm not
That's
gonna.
a bad
I'm
name.
so sorry. That's an awful name.
And when she sees the chainmail, like, oh, look at you all fancy. Like
Yeah,
there was,
yeah. Oh,
it was so
excuse
precious.
me, Frodo Baggins.
I love
Yeah,
she
it's like,
called
yeah.
him Bright Eyes, and all I could think of was when they called Din Brown Eyes.
Oh,
I was like,
I went
Bright
to
Eyes
Planet
and
of
Brown Eyes. Like
I went to
don't know.
Planet of the
That
Apes. I was like,
super cute.
Oh, it was super, super cute. And I remember when she shows up, like, in the carriage thing, whatever that shows
Yeah.
up, and I was like, oh, please don't have Grogu with you in the middle of
I
a
know.
battle.
bringing a
then
child to the battle.
obviously-
Yeah.
At first, you don't see him because he's like hiding under the blanket. I was like, oh, good, she doesn't have him. And then suddenly it's
No.
like, look who's here. It's like, what?
I was watching with my boyfriend, and he was like, there's no way. There's no
There's
way she
no
brought him. I'm like, he is there. I'm telling you right now. Like, he is there in the middle of this fight. He's there.
Yeah, I was like,
I mean,
please don't
but-
do this.
I do like, I mean, she did bring a child to battle, but at least, she
Well, she
brought
didn't
it
know
in
the
a
battle was
carriage
happening.
so she brought it in
Yeah.
a carriage so, he's comfortable and stuff. She didn't just, bring him under a scorching sun. So
Well, and
Yeah,
she
she
didn't
rolled in
actually know the
style,
battle
yeah.
was happening. So it wasn't like she was like on purpose bringing a child into battle. But come on,
Yeah,
that
this is a-
moment when he just smiles up and jumps into his arms,
oh,
I almost cried.
The sweetest
Like,
thing
oh
you've
my
ever seen. Oh my god.
I know. It's like, oh, I'm so happy to see you too, but we're in the middle of a battle.
I totally thought that he was gonna take off his helmet. He's gonna be, oh, Grogu, and just take off the
I know,
helmet.
I know. I know.
But I was
I'm
like,
waiting
no,
for
he's
it.
back into indoctrination.
He still has ways to go. He still has ways to go with
Yeah.
that, especially now after being rejected, by the armor. So he still has a ways to go and like figuring out his identity. But now that he's back with Grogu, I think we're going to see a lot of growth because they are a family. I love that he is referenced as, his dad, because Pelimoto even says, it's like, your old man's gonna be fine, it's gonna be good. Like the father-son relationship has been really well established. When that chariot thing fell over and then jetpack grabbing Grogu,
oh my gosh, all of them midair, an incredible shot. Incredible.
So good. There were so many amazing scenes. Like, you can have your issues with how it was structured and all, but it was a really, really well done episode. It's just it wasn't necessarily, you know, a final episode. You could have brought more to it, but it was fantastic. And Grogu, I'm also kind of mad at Luke, because I was kind of expecting him that he forced the choice on him just to know where his heart truly lied, but that even if he picked the Beskar, he would have said, okay, I know that's where your heart really is, but here's the lightsaber as well, because you are also a Jedi.
We don't know.
Mandalorian and Jedi. Maybe he does. Every time I saw him like walking up to defend Din, I thought he was gonna like pull the lightsaber from the
He's not ready yet, but maybe he might still have it.
I know, but
I think he needs an even smaller one though. He's still
he's still very
big.
tiny.
Like that little hand of his can't even that lightsaber's too big for him.
I know, but it was so amazing that
size.
He looked so kind of tired and everything when he was training with Luke, and in this episode he's just like so excited about everything, and he's able to actually use the Force twice before he falls asleep. Like, he saves Din twice.
But I love when he fell asleep and then he takes a little nap against the Rancor.
Next to the Rancor, that was so good. I mean, but that entire scene when he's putting the Rancor to sleep, because the Rancor is so massive and Grogu is so tiny, and that little waddle of the scene, oh, so cute, so incredibly cute. But that change, and then especially because in the previous episode with Luke, that he quotes
size matters not.
Yoda says, and then you get that awesome juxtaposition of the two giant, and then after the Rancor's asleep, he like rubs him like, you are my friend, and then lie next to him. It was so amazing. So I mean, I can't feel bad about Grogu stealing scenes, because he is like the cutest thing in the world. So
yeah,
and actually
that is one thing that I've considered buying, is the sideshow collectible of the Grogu, the life-size one.
It's really good.
But I'm like, my apartment's already like too much. Can't have that. Can't have
just do it. It's fine.
Okay, I'll think about it.
No, him and the Rancor, so precious, and just kind of thinking about like, oh, that's Din's like baby, and then it's kind of like Boba's baby, I guess.
Boba's baby, yeah.
So Uncle Boba, and then like that means that Din is uncle to the Rancor too. It's just a big happy family, and I like that now Din has babysitters and all the planets. He has like Frog Lady as a babysitter with Frog Husband.
Oh yeah, like all over the
planet. Now he has Peli and the Mayordomo as babysitters here in Tatooine. It's great. It's great. Maybe not Luke. He should not be a babysitter. But perhaps R2. I mean, we talked a lot about, this chapter 7, ups and downs. We tried to be you guys tried to be as positive as possible, because I had my qualms, I admit. But I think that's the important thing, even though I had issues with it. I think the important thing is like, look at the good things, the positive, the enjoyment, the fun that we can take out of all this, and let that be kind of the driving force, because we're here to enjoy media. And while we can be critical and, try to see how it would work for us narratively, it's all about having fun at the end of it. But both of you were talking about, the continuation of the story. So why don't we expect, I mean, obviously the season's over, but we can assume that there's going to be a season 2. So what would we like to see for a potential season 2 of where Boba's journey is going, based on where we see his journey has ended for this season? What do you think, Tori?
Ooh. See, here's the thing. I always try not to like think up too many things, because I kind of want to see where they're going to take me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I, and I do think we had some of this throughout this season. I've kind of said this a couple other places, but I'll reiterate. I really enjoy like period pieces and things like that. And what I enjoy about them is that kind of like courtly intrigue and politics and like all of this, right? And so we've seen that a little bit. But so I think I would like to see, I mean, again, I'd like to see Kira, okay,
Yeah.
I hope she's alive out there somewhere. She's doing well and she's still crimson donning it up, you know. Or crimson raining, if you will. So I mean, I think it would be really cool to maybe see the bigger picture, because honestly, and this was a thought that I had throughout the finale, I'm like, okay, the Pikes are all well and good. We hear and see them a lot. To me though, they are not really that big of a bad,
Right.
like on the grand scheme of things, right? So that's kind of why this whole time I've kind of been like, oh, but where's Kira? Because it just kind of feels like there's something higher, right? It just kind of feels like there could be. So I would like to see a little bit more of that, because I think now at this point, right, we've seen Boba kind of, at least kind of at the end, you kind of get this idea that he's kind of won over the people a little bit, right? Like he really does have a little bit more of a bond with Mos Espa after this whole scenario. But there's still the galaxy at large to reckon with. There's still the other crime lords, you know. So it just, I don't know. I think exploring a little more of that would be cool, and maybe a little bit more of his past along the way, because I do think we made awesome headway. A lot of really interesting storytelling. Love the whole Tuscan angle. But there's even that comment that Fennec makes, which is, you know, he gets out of the back to tank and it's like, oh, you know, you're 100% healed. Okay, what about the scars on the inside?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't feel like I still don't feel like that's been fully addressed.
Yeah.
So that's my very long answer.
Perfect. What about you, Nani?
Yeah, I think this was kind of a period of transition for Boba. I don't think he still has figured out completely who he is yet. And you can hear it at the end, because like you were saying, Tori, you can tell that he has gained the respect and possibly loyalty of the people of Mos Espa, because, I mean, first, what kind of sign of badassery is just showing up riding a Rancor? Because, I mean, Jabba the Hutt kept his Rancor in a cell underground.
It's better than being,
I don't think anybody can top
around.
that, personally. I think that you won them over on that alone.
Yeah. And then the fact that, you know, all the families backed the Pikes and basically betrayed the people, you know, now he has a relationship that is not based on fear, but on actual respect and loyalty and gratitude. But there's a comment that he makes, you know, as he's like walking and everybody's bowing to him, and it's like, I'm really not suited for this. And it's like, then if not you, who? So I think there's a possibility that we might get the Mayordomo or somebody else to like be his proxy, and then he might actually go after Crimson Dawn. Like the Pikes aren't the actual big bad here. Like they serve somebody else, and they're screwing up other planets and blah blah blah. So I think they might do a Fennec and Boba like trying to go after their bosses and the higher ups, and that would take them into like adventures in space and maybe like deepen their relationship and actually have them be more equal partners. So I think that would be really cool. If they want to stay in Tatooine, that's fine too. But I think that would be a good angle for it. Because I think maybe
super cool.
Yeah.
I agree with you both. I think that that the story's going in that sort of direction. I think we all are doing the wishful thinking with Crimson Dawn, but I think that's, if not exactly with Kira and Crimson Dawn, at least a proxy of that, because it kind of seems that like this was on Tatooine, so it's like a personal story of him rising to, you know, the throne of Jabba, right? And so it looks like it's going to expand from there, and like when here it was like a battle with a local gang, so the Pikes, even though I know they're bigger than that, but that has repercussions up the food chain, and obviously the Pikes are allied with Crimson Dawn. So we might see, instead of a war of, like in the comics, instead of a war of bounty hunters, it becomes like a war of syndicates, and maybe his family now is at war with either Black Sun or Crimson Dawn, or whoever, you know, is still at large, and is going to expand from there. I do hope what you were saying, Nani, that because of how Chapter 7 ends with Boba being like, I don't know, this is my jam, I hope that there's a reversal somehow, and like Boba's just like, hey, Fennec, you seem to be like more into this. Maybe you should be the daimyo, and I should be the house husband, and you can just send me to pick up groceries.
I love it.
I'd be okay with that too.
And I'd be like, yeah, that makes more sense. And then
or they have like tryouts.
Yeah.
You know?
See who
they alternate. It's like, hey, I do 3 months, you do 3 months, and then we come back and something
You
like
be
that.
good cop, I'll be
Yeah.
bad cop. We'll switch it up. It's all good.
I think so. So I think that there's that part of their relationship that needs to develop, because it's there. Lucasfilm, stop being afraid of romance. People want romance. It's you don't just give romance to Han and Leia for it to be a Doom romance. Don't just give it to Anakin and Padme so it's a Doom romance. Just let it blossom.
Kylo and Rey.
You robbed it from Kylo and
Kylo dies.
Rey. So just let someone someone be happy.
Be happy.
Even
Yeah.
Peli, you're breaking up her relationships. She
I was
can't
gonna
be happy
say,
with a
just
Jawa. It's like,
Peli
come
a
on,
major
man.
domo, you know.
Yeah.
If that's how we have to start, we'll start somewhere.
I'm totally okay with that.
But yeah, so we'll see. It'll definitely be exciting to see where the show goes when we get that inevitable announcement for the Book of Boba Fett
Hope you're
season
right.
2.
I
You're
hope
right.
so.
Maybe at Celebration, because after today people were expecting that. I was gonna say the Book of Obi-Wan, that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was gonna premiere May 4th for Star Wars Day, but apparently it's premiering May 25th, which for those of you non-nerds that happen to be listening to this podcast, that's the day before Star Wars Celebration.
Everyone's gonna be traveling.
So,
Everyone's gonna be freaking out because they need to get to their hotel and watch it.
So it's like, holy crap! That's two. One, a guarantee that Ewan's going to be at the convention, and then two, I don't know how this relates to Book of Boba Fett, but I would think that they would announce at the convention Book of Boba Fett season 2, and maybe have like sizzle reels for Mando season 3. I don't know if that started filming yet, but have some sizzle for new shows and a trailer for Andor, I guess, because Andor is the next show after Obi-Wan, if I'm not mistaken.
I think presumably, again, I think all of it is just kind of based on hearsay and general feelings at this point.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's weird that we got an unofficial confirmation of Andor season 2 when we haven't even had season 1, and we're
not a bad
want to know about Boba
thing to hear about, though. I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what makes me a little nervous. It's like, oh, y'all haven't announced Boba Fett season 2 yet.
But if you actually see on the Disney Plus, when it shows up like as one of the important things, it says season finale available, not series. So I'm
okay. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. That's good.
So if Disney then decides that it's a series finale, we're all gonna sue them.
Yeah, we'll send
false information.
A strongly worded letter to Bob Chapek. And
Absolutely.
It's like, yo, what's up? I'll unsubscribe. Damn it. But with that, I think
promise me that it was a season finale, not series.
Right.
We're season 2.
Exactly.
I ordered a helmet. Goddamn it! Like I need to use it. But with that, I think this has been like an amazing conversation, Tori. Thank you so much for joining us. This is always, so much fun with our resident Boba Fett expert. Before we sign off, though, why don't you where can people find you? I know that you're in a bunch of places. You have a bunch, now you have the cool Match the Look Twitter account.
Steal the look.
Tell everybody about it.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Mandatorian. That's the Mandalorian with an AT instead of the L. You can check out my shop, Creature Cartel. That's at Creature Cartel. Star Wars inspired accessories. I haven't really put her back up yet. I've been taking a little bit of a break from the end of the year until now, so we'll see when that goes up again. But and then you can catch me on Octo Radio doing the Mandatorian Creed. We are wrapping up, as everyone else is, our coverage of Book of Boba Fett, and from then we'll see where it goes. But so that's on the Octo Radio feed, and you can catch that at Octo Radio on Twitter and Instagram. And I did a weird meme and it took off, and so I said, I guess I'll just keep doing this because it was really fun to do. It's basically just taking random it can be like better known characters. I really enjoy the background characters, clearly, right? So just finding weird people that are weirdly dressed in Star Wars, and like I make these memes in like 5 minutes. That's kind of like the goal, is for them to kind of be kind of crappy because it's funnier that way, I think. So I just like go on to like Amazon and type in like, oh, they're wearing like a orange jumpsuit. So I'll be like orange jumpsuit and I'll find that. And so it's just me piecing these little things together to like, if you want to kind of dress up like this person, like here's how to do it.
Yeah, for a
Awesome.
galaxy
So,
Galaxy's
yeah.
Edge, low budget.
And
cosplay.
that's on Twitter and it's at it's SW for Star Wars, steal the look. So
Awesome.
Links to all of that in the description below so that you don't have to remember it. So you can just click and find it and make sure to follow it because there's a bunch of really cool content. Please make sure to check it out.
Well, thank you so much for joining us yet again, Tori. This was really, really fun. Hopefully we'll have a season 2 to talk about. So when that happens,
fingers crossed.
and obviously,
I'll be on.
And obviously the other shows, because more Star Wars is good Star Wars.
More Star Wars
Can't
is good.
complain.
Star Wars.
Getting
True.
more stuff. So this is the end of our Fett Fridays. Let's hope everybody out there, good vibes, that we're getting more. And we are Triad of the Force. You can find us anywhere that podcast can be found. Just search for Triad of the Force. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, just everywhere. Just look for the Triad. We're there. And until next time, we will continue with our regularly scheduled episodes that we usually release on Wednesdays. So until next time, may the Force be with you.